Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 7 of The Digital Grocer. I'm your host, Sylvain Perrier, President and CEO of Mercatus Technologies. And as always, joining me in the studio is Mr. Mark Fairhurst, our Senior Director of Marketing.
Welcome, everyone.
It's great to see you, Mark. And at the board is, I like to call him Scotty, but there is no warp speed on this podcast, Kevin Glenn.
How's it going?
Gentlemen, I'm so happy we're back from episode 6. Episode 6 was really kind of cool. We talked about cyber insurance with our friends over at Martin Mary Reed, and the feedback and the questions coming out from the industry has been tremendous. I don't know if I told you guys I was on the phone the other day with a company from Israel who's actually in our space. Okay. And they said, we love the podcast.
They're actually subscribing.
Yeah, they're subscribed. Wow. And they're so excited. And they love it because I know we actually normally release our episodes on Sundays, right? To kind of queue it up for the week.
Yep.
So they work on Sundays, and they play it in the office out loud on a speaker.
That's fantastic.
That's great, right? So they had a bunch of questions, and they're going to send questions. You know, the one thing that's really interesting about the space that we're in grocery retail is, historically we used to say, oh, the landscape is going to rapidly morph and change. It's happening today. There isn't a week that goes by where there is a major announcement, whether it's a new partnership, whether it's a new piece of technology. Even greater than that is we're actually now seeing retailers kind of morph the way that they do business. We did the interview, I think, Mark, was it last week or the week before with Canadian Grocer?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Right. I think, and the whole title of it was autonomous vehicles. Correct. And they wanted our opinion in terms of, do we see grocers adopting autonomous vehicles? Yep. And, we made the point of, for us to see really drastic change in this space, it's going to take the large 3 automotive manufacturers to really lobby the governments hard. But it doesn't preclude the fact that we're seeing some tremendous investment in this space. Kroger working with doing a pilot in California in terms of delivering groceries in an autonomous vehicle. And I think that's great. We have this amazing show coming up in Las Vegas.
Yes.
I think it's at the end of October.
Yep.
It opens on the Sunday.
Yes.
The 28th.
Yes,
28th.
Yep.
Grocery Shop, which is a spin-off of Shop Talk. We were at Shop Talk, the last, which was this year. The grocery track was phenomenal. The content was amazing. The attendees and the buzz was just great. I'm excited to see the trends that are going to be discussed at the show. I'm more curious to see what's really going to be transformational out there in the industry. And much like we've done in our other shows, in the other episodes, we just don't rely on our own knowledge. We bring in a special guest. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, we've brought the one guy who gets this industry from end to end. Calling from somewhere in the United States, likely on the West Coast because he knows better than the rest of us. The weather's way better in California. Joining us is the supermarket guru himself, Phil Lempert. Phil.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to have you on our show. And, for those of you who don't know Phil, he's the guy all the major networks, whether it's TV, radio, trade publications, he's the guy they go to demystify whatever may be happening from a product perspective, from a trend perspective, or quite frankly, just to understand what is happening in this space and what may be coming down the pipe in this space. So it's great to have you on our show today. So tell me from your perspective, when you look at the retail landscape today, what gets you really excited?
Well, what gets me excited, besides the work that you're doing and what's going on at Grocery Shop, is the fact that we're really attracting, for the first time ever, a whole new level of expertise to grocery. Being in grocery was never the cool guys, but now we're attracting people people from Harvard and MIT and Stanford, and people who really want to transform our industry. And that's probably the most exciting thing I've ever seen. My job is to walk up and down the aisles of supermarkets and tap consumers on the shoulder and say, why did you buy this? Why didn't you buy that? And consumers are getting smarter than ever before. So we're really looking at this industry through a very different lens. And when I look at what Grocery Shop is doing, and you mentioned it earlier, they are not only attracting people that typically are not on the platform speaking, but they're attracting people CEO level who are really sharing the idea. Today's food entrepreneur, whether it's for products or whether it's for retail, are really driven by a whole new set of rules. It used to be, driven by money. Now they're driven by a social conscience, health and wellness, enhanced nutrition, life hacking. The world is upside down. And I think for me, that's fabulous.
Absolutely. Now, I'm kind of curious, how hard is it being a grocery retailer today when you have the myriad amounts of pressure coming down from the consumers who just want more? And so is it become that much more of a challenge for a brick and mortar operator?
Absolutely. And not only do you have the challenge from the consumer, but now you have the challenge, from all new kinds of retailers who want to sell food, whether it's food from e-commerce, whether it's players who have never been in food before, but decided because food is so big, they want a piece of it. Kimball Musk is a great example. Instacart, great example. I mean, these are people typically who have not been in the food world that are coming in the food world. So you've got those challenges as a retailer. And also, frankly, the traditional supermarket that's 42 to 45,000 square foot is a dinosaur. It shouldn't exist. It probably became extinct 10 years ago, and these retailers just never did it. So we're also looking at that physical configuration. How do we have to change this? And when you think about how a supermarket is built and how it's put together, that we walk through the produce department, then up and down the aisles, and we're, passing by some 40,000 products. That's absurd. Who says the supermarket should look like that? That's not the way we eat. Why not re-envision a supermarket to be mirroring the way we eat? We buy foods for breakfast, we buy it for lunch, we buy it for snacks, we buy it for dinner. Why doesn't the supermarket set up like that? And there's certain products like milk, for example, that might be in all four of those areas. But we need to rethink the physical layout of a supermarket if in fact we want consumers to get excited. And now with automatic replenishment, what we're going to see is, half the products that are in the supermarket, those brand names that we never want to run out of, those are going to disappear, which is going to give us a lot more space in that store to really have conversations with the produce guy, with the meat manager, with the baker, and really get into a whole culinary experience, if you would, versus, again, that boring idea of walking up and down aisles.
Yeah, and that's an interesting concept because at the end of the day, what it lends itself well is to take the products that are ultimately very commoditized. Mm-hmm. I can get these online. For us at home with me and my wife, I won't go to the grocery store to buy Tide detergent. Not being offensive to Tide, I think it's a great product, but I don't need to see it on a store shelf. I'm actually more interested in, as you're suggesting, having a conversation with the butcher behind the counter to understand what is this steak that I'm going to buy, where did this cut of meat come from, and what can I do with it, right? So it's a richer experience. And then so the store becomes significantly decluttered in that sense. And it's more akin to my lifestyle and likely to a bunch of other consumers' lifestyle. But when I think of those concepts, then I start to wonder, are we over-retailed in America?
Absolutely. We don't need the amount of stores that we have. And also, a lot of the stores that we have are mirror images of their competitors. So yeah, maybe the floor is a different color and so on, but it's the same basic products, which is why what we're starting to see with retailers like Green Zebra or Erewhon, these brick and mortar experiences that are smaller, that have unique offerings that we can't get elsewhere, that's becoming very exciting, for retail. Why should I have to, go to Albertsons and Safeway and see the same products, especially when their stores are across the street? So sure, I can save 10 cents on a can of peas. Big deal. That's not what retailing and merchandising is all about.
Yeah, that's true. So let me relate an example to the audience. So north of Toronto, there's a very small family retail outfit called Vince's Market. And majority of the people, unless you're here in Toronto, will have not heard of it. So the family operates, I think, maybe 10 locations maximum. Kevin, do you know?
I know they had a location in Etobicoke.
Okay.
Right, and they had one in Sharon as well.
Correct. Yeah, and I think they've subsequently opened more. The family turned around and ended up purchasing a Target location once Target decided to exit the Canadian space. Reaction being, this is a Target facility, maybe 50,000, 60,000 square feet. It is attached to a Cadillac Fairview Mall, which in the U.S. equivalent is like, Simon's Malls. Right, I think it's called, where they have the Lexus parked outside and the valet parking. So you're kind of like, why would a very small local retailer make that type of substantial investment? Well, when you visit this location, and I met with the manager at the front door in the opening day, and I said to him, why this? He says, you're going to understand two things. First of all, we know we're not capturing your entire share of wallet as a consumer. So we've actually made the decision not to put every single product that we can fit inside 50,000 square feet. That's number one. Number two is they've created these very, very unique food stations, much like Price Chopper did with their concept that they did before the Market 32 came out. And so they've put in these very unique food stations inside. So unique that they have attracted European CPGs into the Canadian marketplace to feature certain products, cheeses, prosciuttos, and so on and so on. And coffees, and it's amazing. When you walk in, it's literally a culinary experience every station that you go to. And I'm like, wow, this may be my new favorite grocery store. And that's a great example that relates back to what you were saying, Phil. I did not get a chance to talk to any of the CPGs inside the store, but historically, my conversations with CPGs is they're playing a little bit of catch up on this whole e-commerce thing, and they're a bit worried. Is that the sense that you're getting from your conversations?
Yes, I think that not only CPGs, but also retailers are fearful of what's going on with e-commerce. E-commerce in the States is now about 2%. That's it. I mean, some people have said it's going to go to 10%. I don't think so until we get to that automatic replenishment that we were discussing, where our refrigerator doors and our cupboards have scanners built in, and the shelves are scales, and it can automatically monitor when I'm going to run out of that milk, and it sends me something on my phone saying, you're going to run out of milk in a day. Should we order it? And I just press yes, and it magically arrives. I think that right now, and there are a couple exceptions, I think Walmart with Jet.com is an exception, but right now, all these people are just throwing everything they can against the wall to see what sticks. We don't know where e-commerce is going to go. I think we have an indication. If you look at Target, purchasing Shipt, what they want to do is they want to build a relationship, not just deliver groceries. So their model, Shipt's model, is that every time you order, you have the same person picking your food and delivering your food to you. And that elevates that whole experience, unlike Instacart, where basically I've probably ordered from Instacart 100 times since they've been in the Los Angeles area. I've never seen the same person twice. So it's a very different model. And it's interesting to see what retailers are going to do. Basically, the retailers are telling me that Instacart is a short-term solution for them. They're going to want to do it themselves, whether they go out there and buy Instacart or some of the others, the way Target bought Shipt, but they want to control it more than it's being controlled now. As far as e-commerce goes for CPG companies, certainly down here in the States, Dollar Shave Club is that perfect example, and Bon Bosch socks and so on, going direct to the consumer. And we're seeing a lot more of these CPG companies, including food, wanting to go direct to the consumer, again, to build that relationship. Because at the end of the day, that's all you've got. You've got a relationship. You can always have somebody make a better looking product, a cheaper product, a higher quality product, whatever it is. But it's that customer relationship that, whether you be a retailer or a CPG company, that you need to own and to protect, because that's how you're going to make your money.
No, absolutely. And I feel like when we started our business here at Mercatus, we were really ushering the notion of e-commerce 2.0. And 2.0, really what it means is not so much a closed system, more platform-based, the ability for a retailer to leverage the investments that they've made in other pieces of technology by integrating them into a central platform and so on. And then we rapidly went through what I don't want to call it a 3.0. I think it's more of a 2.5. This notion of the gig economy, right? Let's super commoditize this element of this last mile and swing the pendulum towards that area. And I can see why retailers would want to try that out, because, when your biggest expense is your labor and someone offers you a solution where they take that expense away from you, the cost of trying it is next to nothing. But I can imagine if you wake up one morning and suddenly you realize, well, wait a minute, this is a full-fledged business. I can make money at this. What do I do? I can expect some retailers today are kind of waking up, and it may be a little bit of a state of panic.
Absolutely right. Because again, not only do you want to own it from a quality standpoint, but when I think, and I buy, as you probably do, a bunch of things on Amazon. Amazon owns that relationship with me. Not one of the products that I'm buying has any kind of relationship with me. Some of them don't even know who I am. Some that do ship by themselves, do, but there's no contact. So, just picture Amazon owning that customer relationship. And if Safeway or Albertsons or Schnucks or any of these retailers lose that relationship and it goes to a third party, then all of a sudden you're really going to stay up nights worrying that, somebody's going to steal your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I've tried ordering food, using Amazon, and it just, I don't know, this, for me, I feel like I'm cheating on my grocer. and it sounds kind of cheesy.
I won't tell him.
No, but it sounds cheesy even to hear myself say it. But really, there's something incredibly impersonal going to the door and there's a brown box and the tape says, watch our new TV series, Jack Ryan, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. And there's something inside that it's supposed to be, conducive to me, my survival and my health. I just don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm missing that emotional attachment. And when I look at these services, if it's not coming directly from the retailer, I don't know. I'm not connecting as a consumer. I get the convenience aspect of it, but it's just not the same. I'm kind of curious to hear from you. What gets you excited? Being the guru that you are, when you kind of look into your crystal ball, because I suspect you may have something that looks like that. When you look into it and you think, in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm really jazzed about this and I want to see that.
Well, I think overall, what I'm really excited about is the fact that finally people feel the need to connect with their food, both intellectually and physically. So I think that that's big. And I think the tactics that that's going to take is going to be what's really interesting, that we're starting to see 3D printed food, talk about waste constantly. 40% of all food is being wasted. Well, you go into a supermarket and you look at their pastry case and there's beautiful birthday wedding cakes and everything else there that, the waste factor, in my opinion, probably is 40, 50%. Why can't we just have a 3D cake printed on demand? We're starting to see apps that connect farmers to consumers. So a farmer puts out what their crop is today and they'll deliver it to you. So I think technology really having a huge place. And talking about technology, cellular agriculture gets me really excited, because when we look at how we are growing our food, how we're growing our livestock, it's a very inefficient system, especially as we now have more climate change than ever before. And we have all these factors. If you look at the hurricanes that just took place, here on the East Coast, I mean, we have lost tens of thousands of pigs, a couple 100,000 of poultry, as well as the fields. And then what we have is we have all this land that basically is going to be destroyed for growing foods for another 5 to 10 years. So we've got to relook at that. And for me, a lot of that has to do with indoor farming that we're starting to see really taking place in Europe and in Asia, where we can grow our foods faster because the lights are on 24 hours a day. We don't rely on the sun, where it's a controlled environment. We don't have food safety issues like we had earlier this year, that the government still doesn't know where E. coli, hit the whole arugula business. And arugula has still not come back from that. So I think technology gets me very excited about what's going on, both from farm as well as connecting us to farmers. And frankly, we're all going to win by that, because the more we know about our food, to your point, more emotional we can get about it, the better we're going to eat. I really suggest that one of the reasons that we have this huge overweight problem around the world is people are not emotionally connected with their food. They're just shoveling it in because they're hungry, or it's 12 noon, so it's time for lunch. But we have to make that mind-body connection and really, really be much more mindful of what we're eating if we're going to reverse that.
Absolutely. And to add to your narrative, I can't agree more with this whole notion of the environment and how we grow food or raise farm animals, right? If we're seeing now in I think it's on the east coast of Canada, we're seeing a lot of Israeli farm growing techniques and technology trickling in.
Well, even I was just having a conversation with some relatives last week in Leamington, Ontario, which is, you have all these hydroponic greenhouses. There's no soil involved whatsoever.
Correct. Yeah. And the Israelis have become really famous in growing tomatoes in the desert and using these types of technologies. That's kind of finding its way because, Phil, you're so right. I mean, you get one hurricane, especially Hurricane Michael that just struck, eliminated literally, as you said, for 5 years, some of the best growing land for certain types of things. When I kind of look at the landscape of what's emerging in terms of technology, if I put my consumer hat on, I'm thinking greater convenience, greater transparency, but a greater risk to privacy. So that is one that, I'm keeping my eye out, where California is by 2020 is going to come out with their own version of GDPR, which is really critical. And I think that's something that anyone who's running a loyalty program of some sort or some sort of online registration mechanism where you're sharing private information is going to have to keep an eye out. We're also, I think, retailers are catching up to where the banks were in the 80s and the 90s, which is the notion of share a wallet, looking at the data, hopefully leveraging it to create some sort of personalization, to recommend content, to grow share basket. We know Kroger is number one in this space here because of their strategic investments they've made in the past. I think you're going to see that type of thinking and knowledge trickle into some of the technology that may make its way into retail. I think that's incredibly exciting. I also think that we are about to step out of, I call this, we're in a world of Walmart 2.0. And Phil, you probably remember this. You remember what it was like 20 years ago when you were a retailer trying to compete against Walmart?
Yep.
It was atrocious, right? You needed to find a way to differentiate yourself. I think we are going back into one of those phases again, where retailers are going to have to relearn how to properly compete and differentiate themselves against Walmart.
I think you're right. And especially I'm watching very closely what's going on at jet.com in New York. And, I think that Walmart is going to stay ahead of their competitors by having Jet, by experimenting with a lot of the things that they're doing with Jet and moving it forward into Walmart, 4.0. And everybody else is going to be playing catch up, because the first go around with Walmart, it was all about price and assortment, and nobody could beat their prices. But in the meantime, what Walmart has done is they've created a huge infrastructure that from farm right to the stores that nobody can compete with. So it's not just about price anymore with Walmart. It's being as smart as Walmart has been as a retailer.
Absolutely. And I would say they've not been afraid to invest not only in infrastructure, but to invest in innovation and then the whole process.
They're constantly out there experimenting with C-stores, other store formats, and so on. And I mean, even if you look earlier this week, at Sears filing bankruptcy, that's a perfect case where you had one of the top retailers in the world slowly, painfully going out of business because they just never got it. They weren't investing. They weren't looking at innovation. They weren't seeing what's next. They weren't getting online. Every retailer should be looking at that and get very nervous.
Yeah, and I made the comment today on social media when the announcement came out last night. Ultimately, Sears, specifically in Canada, lost its way the moment they decided to abolish their catalog. And they had no hope in hell in surviving, because they had not even conceptualized, did they not conceptualize what was going to keep them afloat, they even, and this is a true story, they co-opted the idea of e-commerce to a series of organizations that were responsible for the publication of the catalog. So if that's not a recipe for disaster, I mean, I have no clue then what is.
Exactly. If we think of their catalog as really the first direct-to-consumer play that anybody did, and then everybody, copied them, made it better. Then we got into QVC. Now we're direct-to-consumer from manufacturers. Yeah, they had it. But to your point, you can't sit back and stop innovating and stop thinking. And not everything that you're going to do is going to work. And not everything that you do is going to be profitable. But you need to be out there doing these things, bringing it back to food. In Chicago, Mariano's is really the leader, in my opinion, for grocerants, which is one of the reasons that I feel that Kroger, bought Roundy's and Mariano's. And I was just talking to Gary Zekel a couple weeks ago. They had one of their grocerant offerings, which was their oyster bar. And it was written up, I think it was in Chicago Magazine, as the hottest pickup place Friday nights in Chicago, where people would go there instead of a bar to meet. And I said, how's everything going with the oyster bar and stuff like that? He said, I had to close them. And I said, what do you mean? I thought they were doing so well. He said, yeah, they're doing too well. There are not enough oyster shuckers in Chicago that I could hire or people that I could train. So again, the innovation has to keep on coming, whether it's a food service operation, whether it's a retail operation, whether it's a product. I mean, look at Apple. And everybody laughs the once a year, Apple meeting that they have where they talk about innovation and, the next series of iPhone. And then you have some of the pundits that say, oh, well, it's not that innovative. They haven't done anything. They are constantly pushing themselves to innovate, to create what's next, what's new. And even if it's little things, I think back on my iPhone that I have today versus my first iPhone. Wow, what a difference. And then I think back to what my iPhone is today to when I bought a Newton, and before that a mini computer. My iPhone does more, for $1,000 than a mini computer that I bought, 25 years ago for $100,000.
And we went to the moon in 1969 with considerably less technology. Well, you guys went. I mean, we watched on TV in Canada. I'm sorry. So. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Phil Lempert. He is the supermarket guru. Now, Phil, you're going to grocery shop, and if our listeners want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Sure. Well, at Grocery Shop, I'll actually be having 2 conferences there, what they call talks. So I have 4 presenters who get up, they talk for 7 minutes, and then I question them about their talk for 7 minutes. So on Monday, the 29th at 4:15, we'll be doing food safety and supply chain transparency. That's going to cover blockchain, Internet of Things and beyond. And then on Tuesday morning at 9:15, I have a panel using data to drive in-store conversion. And we're going to be talking about that, but I'll be there the whole time. You can always just send me an email, phil@supermarketguru.com, and we'll hook up.
Oh, that's great. And Mark, if people want to get a hold of us for anything regarding the podcast, and if they want to get a hold of us at Grocery Shop?
Yeah, absolutely. We're sponsoring Grocery Shop. We're one of the Level 5 sponsors. We're thrilled to be able to showcase everything that Mercatus is doing and support not only our clients who are attending, but also our partners as part of our larger technology ecosystem. We will be at booth 314 in the trade show area, and we will be there from noon on Sunday to Wednesday at noon when the show closes. And we encourage everyone to stop by. To reach us any other time, please go to our website, www.mercatus.com. Find us at the bottom in the footer of our social channels. Follow us there. And we look forward to hearing comments and accolades and critiques of our podcast, and we look forward to seeing everyone at Grocery Shop.
Phil, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you everyone for listening. Our next episode is in the works, and the release date is TBD, so check back soon, update your feed. You won't want to miss it.